To my channel. Thank you so much for supporting it. I am loving the growth. I'm loving the feedback I'm getting from you guys. Thank you so much to the loyal people who've been seeing my videos from the first one and continue to support me, advising me on the kind of videos you'd like and the content that I should do more of. I really appreciate it. This is really quite a passion of mine, cooking, and I love that I get to share that now with you, and I hope that this community continues and grows, because this is really quite important to me. It's something I really love, and I've been so excited that I've been able to do this. Today I am making an exciting, very easy recipe. Today's recipe was actually inspired by bread. So I had a bit of bread that was gonna go stale that I needed to, to eat. And then I just thought if I could make something really delicious to accompany that, that would be great. It turned out so lovely. I have to share it with you. So this is like, I would say a bisque or a prawn casserole. No, it's not. I don't know how to call it. Prawn sauce soup. Okay, so I think I'm not actually sure what I want to call this, but so you would choose what you want to call it. Basically, it is a tomato-based sauce that is then enriched with some prawns and chorizo. Without any further ado, let's get into the recipe. Okay, so let's start with our ingredients. This is literally everything I'm gonna use. And there's that bread that inspired the whole thing. I bought these already cooked prawns that are frozen from Woolies. I have half a can of tomatoes that have been chopped or whatever. Some red pepper, garlic, salt, cumin, coriander, smoked paprika, chili flakes, and cream cheese. So we start off with the sauce. I don't want this to be chunky, and so I am gonna blend all of the vegetables together, starting off with the red bell pepper. I'm gonna use the whole one. This is a pretty small bell pepper. It's not those big ones. So it goes into the little jug for the blender, and I follow that through with the 2 crushed tomatoes. So these were canned, and that's just half a can, so that's about 125 mils of that goes in the blender, and as you can see, quickly gets blended. And I want to add a shallot. So this is a whole shallot. It's quite tiny, as you can see. But one thing about shallots is that they've got quite a pungent flavor of onion, and so this small one packs a real punch, and that is actually a good thing, because remember, we are going to cook down the sauce, and so at the end you'll just have a more harmonious flavor of the onion as opposed to a punchy one. I am adding about half a teaspoon of the garlic that is crushed, and it goes back into the blender to be blended again. So that goes for just a while longer, because obviously the onions are quite chunky and I just want them to be blended down. I want this to literally be a sauce by the time I start cooking it. I don't want any chunks of any of the vegetables that I have added on. Okay, just prep for the rest of the steps. I'm gonna have a pan on a hot stove on high with 2.5 tablespoons of oil. The next thing is me cleaning the prawns. As much as these are cooked already and frozen, I've noticed that they're actually not properly cleaned, and so I always go through the step of removing the shells and also making sure that all the veins are out. As you can see, the vein on this one is pretty big and needs cleaning. So don't ever take for granted that, you know, if they're saying they cooked and whatever, that they're good enough to just go into the pot. Do check them out and clean them, okay? So I am using running water to do that. And so I just go through the process with each one of them, get rid of the shell, check if the vein is still there. If it isn't, obviously just makes it easier, just put it aside. But I think it's a very important step. You don't want to be eating, you know, prawns that are not properly cleaned. That's literally one of the worst things you can do. So I'm just going to quickly go through the step before we go on. As you can see, I'm also keeping the shells, because if you haven't noticed, shells keep the most of the prawn seafoody flavor, and I always try and extract that flavor from them for my dishes. So this is one way of doing it. You will see in the next few steps how I proceed with that. Okay, everything is now clean and ready for the next step. Okay, in our hot oil, we are just gonna take those shells that we just removed, and I'm gonna fry those up. As mentioned, I am trying to extract some flavor from these, so I fry them with a little bit of chorizo. It's literally not a lot. I would say a knob of it really that I chopped tinily, because then it also has quite a nice flavor. And I just have those go until, you know, they've browned, just golden brown, because I know that the flavor is then now transported onto the oil. I would have advised that prior to adding this tomato sauce that we made earlier, you get rid of the shells, because I actually struggled to remove them later, so I should have thought of that. But nonetheless, we just go on. I have added the whole of the sauce that I made earlier, and I am just having that cook down for a couple of minutes on its own. And this is where we get we develop all the flavors. We have the flavor of tomato, of the pepper, and now we're adding a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin goes in. Then we have a 1/4 teaspoon of the chili flakes. You can have more if you like, but I don't want the chili to take over the flavors. I want them to shine. So yeah, that's why I held my hand there. Little bit of smoked paprika goes a long way, because I realized that my chorizo is not really as flavorful as the one I normally buy. I bought this one at this local butcher and I'm not very impressed, so I had to add a bit more of that smoked paprika, added salt and pepper to taste, and I'm just stirring that around. I'm loving the color that's coming from the red peppers and the tomato sauce. So this is going on quite nicely and it smells incredible. So this is what I meant when I said removing the shells later is a bit of a schlep, because there's already a sauce. So try doing it after frying before adding the tomato sauce. I would obviously do that in the future. So another unfortunate thing is I've now lost the footage for the next step, but it basically was just me adding 2 flat tablespoons of the cream cheese to my mixture that we had earlier, and then obviously just added the prawns. After this, you don't go much longer, because remember the prawns are already cooked, so you're not trying to cook them down, you're just trying to make sure that the sauce is fully incorporated. And this is it. Simple, straightforward. If you have any questions, please do ask in the comment section. So for the bread, this is ciabatta that I just needed to use up, and so I'll take about 1.5 tablespoons of butter. I always use salted butter, I just find it easier. I am gonna melt that down and brush it all over the bread on both sides, so it goes into the oven after this. And this is me just turning it over so that both sides are properly toasted. I find this method of toasting bread so easy and quick, and my bread is ready.
and crusty. So then just in obviously your desired bowl, you can just pour this lovely concoction together. I literally even googled what the hell am I gonna call this. That's the thing about coming up with recipes on the go. Sometimes you don't really know what the appropriate names for them are. But here we go, guys. This is a bowl of deliciousness. I would definitely recommend you getting into your kitchen and trying to make this because it was divine. Please do subscribe to my channel and turn on the notifications, and remember to follow me on Instagram at Kholiwe Cooks.